What's up, you beautiful bastards? Hope you having a fantastic Friday. Actually, welcome back to the Friday Show. This is the first one in 3 weeks. The behind the scenes has been crazy.
It's still crazy, but we should have a new home soon.
That said, if you are new here, the Friday Show is all about the conversation. Monday through Thursday, I talk about the world, talk about the news, and then Friday, I go through the comments of those videos to see what you're saying. Not only so I can just see, but also so I can reply back in this video and we can have this conversation. That said, I wanted to address one of the most requested stories this week that didn't really fit into me trying to catch up on all the world news and all the things that were happening last week. And that was a story that called for YouTubers and Twitch streamers to organize, to make a union, to make a guild that can stand up to YouTube and negotiate better terms. And people kept sending me the story saying, Phil, what do you think? Do you want to do something like this? And my response is, I don't really know how effective it could be. I think the Twitch streamers might have a better chance of organizing the disparity between the massive, huge channels on Twitch and your everyday Joe. That's huge. And on top of that, most all the value and the views on Twitch come from people that have scheduled uploads, they're developing communities. Whereas on YouTube, the scheduled creators like myself and many others, we don't even make up a majority. We don't even make up near a majority of the views on YouTube. That, and you have thousands of channels that have 1 million plus subscribers. And that's without even taking into account all those channels that have between 100,000 and just under 1 million. And if there was ever really power in YouTubers banding together, we would have seen that with the MCNs. The makers, the machinimas, the whoever. But they've existed, and many of the people that are a part of MCNs right now are still complaining because they are affected by bad things. There's also the ICG, the Internet Creators Guild. That's a thing right now. You got people like Hank Green, Casey Neistat, Bernie Burns on the advisory board. Ana Akana is listed on their board of directors. They say their mission is to represent creators who want strength and numbers and a seat at the table so they have more influence on the industry and control over their destiny. And I like a lot of people that are involved in this, but even if you look at the board, there's no one that really represents people like myself. The non-advertiser friendly. Well, I feel like the ICG probably has YouTube's ear, and members on that board, they're able to talk to YouTube directly. I don't believe that there's ever a point where you get so many people involved that you have enough of a percentage of the traffic on YouTube to ever have a meaningful ability to make YouTube bend to your will. And for the most part, the problem that a lot of YouTubers are having right now, it's related to monetization, and a lot of the people that are on family-friendly accounts, they think a lot of people are just whining. I'm not shouting it in every video because I think it would get annoying, but my ads are at like 30% of what they were 2 weeks ago. And that's on top of the demonetization problem. But I know as a business, if YouTube has to decide between keeping their advertisers happy and working on the monetization struggles of creators like myself, they're going to look at the advertiser and try and fix that first. Now, if that's fantastic and that's great, they'll eventually get to creators like me, but otherwise, why would they? And that's beside the point that we're not employees. We're all third-party contractors that can post our content anywhere, but we mainly choose to do it on YouTube for the most part. We can take our content elsewhere, and creators like myself also do. I have a very active Facebook. I'm also going to start releasing the show as a podcast, which will take some YouTube viewers away, but I'll also gain a new audience. That said, in this particular instance, I would be more than happy to be wrong. I'd also love to know what you think about that in the comments down below. But to the Monday comments. Monday, the United Airlines scandal started. We had the Tomi Lahren versus the Blaze news, and the so-called free body cams being offered to police. Ralphie wrote, so what exactly did United do wrong? The guy refused to get up. Were they supposed to keep everyone else on the plane on it for hours, for days? Ralphie's so dramatic. What are they gonna do? Keep them there for hours, for days, for years? So as far as what United did wrong, they should not have booted those passengers after they exchanged their tickets to get on the plane, that they were seated, their bags were on that plane. I think it's one thing to do it before you board, but after the fact is ridiculous. The CEO of United himself, even though it was a fake apology in my opinion, acknowledged that they need to rework their entire system to avoid things like this in the future. And that's without talking about that one security guy that should not have handled Dr. Dow like that. It was ridiculous and disgusting. Gavin wrote, okay, am I the only one? If it got to this point, I would have gotten up and told that man to take my seat, especially if he was a doctor and had patience. I'm sorry, if you actually are just mad at United, then look at the people and all the things they could have done instead of just standing there. Sorry this whole thing is so ridiculous. So right off the bat, Gavin, you must be a better person than me, because I would not have been like, you know what? He is a doctor. You can have my seat. Why? Because I'm selfish and I would want to fly home to my family. Also, I can't agree with you as far as getting angry at the people that were standing there watching. They saw a security officer slam a man's face into an armrest and then drag the seemingly concussed man through the aisle. One, people would be worried that they would be treated the same, and two, people would be worried they would get arrested. Mr. Q wrote, this racist card is getting flung around a bit too much these days. A computer chooses a random person. That person happens to be Chinese and that somehow makes a company racist? I agree that it could have been handled better, but geez, come on. So what if a Caucasian man was chosen by a Chinese airline? Would anyone even bat an eyebrow besides the mess of a situation was? I don't know how that's ending. A big point I want to make here is that this was some users that were angry and calling this racist. Even Dr. Dow's attorney said he does not believe that race was involved here. And then he goes on to say that this is just another example of airlines bullying passengers, that they don't have to have the mindset that the customer is always right because they have such a stranglehold on this industry. Tuesday, we talked about YouTube monetization, the United Airlines update, a Syria breakdown, and our douchebag of the day. I am wrote, whoa, I'm not saying it was a good thing, but if they're 15, it's not pedophilia. Pedophilia is prepubescent children. Please, please, please be careful with that. This is a huge misconception and it really needs to stop spreading so much. So this is where people start playing word games. Pedophilia, 11 and younger. 11 to 14, hebephilia. Here's the thing, call it whatever you want. You're talking about a 57-year-old man who is grooming a 15-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl. Don't fuck kids. Don't groom kids to eventually fuck them. It's this weird predator-prey situation. Aiden wrote, Phil, I know you meant pedophiles and child molesters are similar but different, but when you said you hated both groups, it sounds like you're saying you hate gays and child molesters. Smile emoji in a weird place. I thought I worded it okay, but just to clarify, we talked about it being important to separate the idea of someone being gay or bisexual with that somehow pairing them with pedophiles and child molesters. Gay and bi separate from pedophiles and child molesters. So gay and bi aside, it is still important to know that there is a difference between pedophiles and child molesters, because when it comes to pedophiles and child molesters, I am disgusted by both groups, but there is also a big difference between these two. Pedophiles have the sexual urges and child molesters act upon them, which is why I'm disgusted by both and would not want my child around both, but I would only want to personally inflict physical violence onto the child molesters. I know there are people far more sensitive than myself that can sympathize with pedophiles and child molesters, and they say they're wired a different way. And to that I would say you could say that about a serial killer. They're wired a different way. Well, no matter what the case, I don't want someone I care about to be around them. I can't sympathize. If there was a button I could press that killed all child molesters, I'd slam it as fast as possible. Wednesday, we talked about Melania Trump beating down the Daily Mail, swatting news, whatever the hell that was that fell out of Sean Spicer's mouth, and the accusations out of Chechnya that gay men were being rounded up. Joe wrote, my biggest issue with Spicer is that he's just so freaking bad at communicating. It's like his only job skill. It's like if I worked in IT and I was great at my job, except at all that pesky computer stuff, I'd be in some trouble. So I get where you're coming from, but there's just always part of me that wants to cut Spicer a little slack. Imagine being in his shoes. His job every day is to take what everyone has been saying in this administration and make it sound like one cohesive message. That's so hard. You had Donald Trump saying two completely different things about Syria over the course of a week and a half, Rex Tillerson taking a somewhat different tone, and you had Nikki Haley on a completely different level. And that's just on one issue of what feels like a never-ending list of issues. And your job is every day to stand up to that firing squad in the press room and just handle it. I think he has said some ridiculous, stupid things. I don't feel like he is necessarily equipped for this specific job. But I really do want to point out, I say that as someone who probably would have fucked up even worse in his position. There is a reason I very much prefer to have video where I get to edit and control the entire situation rather than doing a live show. I can do it and I can be good at it, but I would definitely like to do it in front of a crowd that's rooting me on. Cindy wrote, a friend brought up the idea that Spicer is actually miserable, but he's too chicken to quit. So he's basically trying to get fired. I think at the rate things are going, that might be true. Cindy, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I wouldn't want to have to put on my resume, fired, kinda sorta said Hitler never used chemical weapons, and then called the places where he killed people with weaponized chemicals Holocaust centers. That wouldn't be good for his career. I honestly think Spicer is doing his best, but I also think maybe that speaks to maybe he shouldn't have this job. Robert wrote, I think the man in the Chechnya story wasn't saying that gay men don't exist, but that he believes families are so likely to be proactive about it when a person is found to be gay that there literally aren't any alive because they are probably already dead. So how could they be detaining gay people when they are all dead? Just saying, I think you misinterpreted what he said, but either way, quite horrible. So Robert, I will concede that I think that he may have meant it in the way that you're actually saying, but it also felt kind of close to like when the president of Iran back in like 2007, you might remember this, in an interview, Ahmadinejad said,
in Iran, we don't have homosexuals like in your country.
But then also talking about gay rights in Iran, that's a whole different can of worms. Whatever the meaning behind the words really is, I hope that we can all agree, though, that that is a crazy mindset to have. And a statement, in my opinion, that makes me feel like there is validity to the claims about Chechnya. Thursday, we talked about the so-called Burger King Google hack, a man on United Airlines being stung by a scorpion, the US using the biggest non-nuclear bomb in Afghanistan, Assad and the United States duking it out, and more. J4 wrote, with the Moab being used, do you think this is a bad precedent to be made? Sure, there were no human life targets, but could this be the starting point where countries feel comfortable / justified using these sizes of bombs in combat? So let me start to answer your question with another question. Is it worse to have one large bomb or a bunch of small bombs? Historically, people like to compare and debate the number of people that died from the atomic bombs in Japan in World War II to the number that died in Japan from fire bombing just before the atomic bombs. Or to compare it to something more recent and also non-nuclear. While everyone was talking about the Moab yesterday, I came across numbers about the number of US bombs dropped in 2016. People, including WikiLeaks, pointed out out that if these bombs average, let's say 1,000 pounds, and for some reason all the bombs that were dropped evenly per day. Not the case, but let's just say for math. That would come out to 71,000 pounds of bomb a day, or as they compare it, roughly 3 Moabs a day. And obviously that's also not a one-to-one comparison, both in blast radius of the bombs, and also the number killed or civilian casualties, the numbers there, they aren't included there. And it's something I'm still trying to wrap my head around to see how I feel morally. But I also do feel like if you are going to comment on this and people are going to make the comparisons of Trump to Obama, you should look into the number of people that were bombed, the number of threats, and also the number of civilians killed, the drone strikes, all of which happened and increased under Barack Obama. Punch Prodro, can I just point out that Phil just used his name as a pun sign-off in this and almost every other video. You can't hate puns and then use puns every Monday through Thursday, Phil. I'm a hypocrite in this and only this regard. I concede. From devastating flood, what a whopper of a day for news. I already hate this. I'm glad I have Phil and the team to help me catch up, or I'd really be in a pickle. Let's just hope I don't get in a beef with any of my friends over any of the news today. Are you trying to make me sad and or angry? Oh, actually, I just got my ander from Mondo. Phil, you deserve punishment. I hate you. God. Although I will say with the Thursday video, I kind of deserved it. But I think trolling a lot of your voice-activated devices was worth it. And I think that's where we're gonna end today. We both like to mess with each other, but there's love there. Sure, it's a toxic kind of love that could lead to a very, very bad ending, but it's love. And with that, nation, that's where I'm gonna end today's show. Thank you for another fantastic week. As a heads up, yes, I will still be in this room next week. We're gonna get through this annoying transition together. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.